Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, I thought I'd just do a video about Gene Hackman because, for anyone who doesn't know, Gene is an actor from let's say quite a long time ago. I suppose he hasn't actually acted in anything since 2004, but his films are classics. The French Connection, The Poseidon Adventure. He played Lex Luthor in Superman films. He is like an iconic actor of his time. And very sad circumstances, Gene was found deceased. Having said that, he was at the respectable age of 95. I mean, anyone who gets to the age of 95 and is still fit and healthy, for what it seemed, they're doing quite well, aren't they? So he was 95, he had a pacemaker. He'd obviously had some health complications, as most 95-year-olds, would have. But he was still up to, I think the last sort of actual public video that had been taken of him was the year before. So he was 94 and he was married with Betsy. And the real mystery of this case is the circumstances in which this couple died, which just seemed, and their dog. So one of their dogs, a German Shepherd, was also found deceased at the property, and it's a very mysterious set of circumstances. So that's what makes it tragic. I mean, obviously, if Gene had got to 95 and he's had a long life well lived, but what happened? What happened in these circumstances that both of them died? We don't know if they died on the same day. Or why the dog was it? The dog may well have been restrained in a cage, but two other dogs were found running around the property that were okay. So this is what we're going to talk about briefly at the beginning, but I've done other videos to talk about the circumstances. Really, what I'm going to concentrate on in this video are like a tribute to Gene and why people, why he was such a great actor, and why, I know some people, probably some younger people, maybe don't even know who he is. But, Gene Hackman was one of the great actors of his day. And, there'll always come a time when, if you don't know Gene Hackman, there'll come a time when you're older and somebody will die from your era and you'll think, oh my God, that's a great loss. So I want to talk about Gene Hackman and the pleasure that he brought to the world in the films that he was in, etc. And I think that's really important. But also we need to remember his wife, Betsy, who was a classical pianist. They'd been married for quite a long time. They seemed quite happy together. But they lived quite a reclusive life, it seems. And that's what we're going to talk about. What friends say about the life they lived, what actors that knew them say, and, have a little look at Gene's performances in some of his most famous films. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for all of you who watch my videos, who like them, who subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget, consider subscribing. You don't have to subscribe. I'm not telling you what to do. But if you want to sort of see more videos like this or get updates, please subscribe, press notifications, leave your DNA on the like button. And thank you to those of you who've already done that. I also want to say, as always, special thank you to my members who keep my channel going. They are the mainstay of my channel, and people who buy Ko-fis, send super stickers or PayPal me or send me nice emails or leave nice messages, contribute to my channel in any positive way. Thank you so much. Okay, let me take the banner off now that I've done that. Then I'm going to come on and say hello to anyone who's in the chat at the moment, but also I want to say hi to all of you lurkers at home. I know a lot of people like to lurk, don't like to join in the chat. Maybe they're a bit nervous. There are a few rules of my chat. We don't mention other YouTubers by name. We don't attack people. You can attack an argument. You can say you don't agree with someone. You don't have to agree with anything that anybody else says. But once you start being nasty about anyone, it's adios amigos. Well, the other thing I want to say is, in my other life, I am a Spanish teacher. So I never very often sort of put on my adverts for Spanish classes or my Spanish books or etc. And sometimes I just forget to do that. But just to let you know that's why I said adios amigos. What's the other thing I want to say? Anyway, I'll come round to that. So many things to say. And if you're watching this live, it's Monday. Hope you're having a good Monday. Monday's not everyone's favourite day, is it? But you know what? Monday always signals a new beginning, doesn't it? So yeah, I want to say hi to the lurkers. I want to say hi to the replay crew. And now I'm going to say hi to those of you that are already here in the chat. Hi, David. Hi, Yvonne. Yes, lovely blue skies in North Norfolk. Do you know in Spain it's been the most awful weather you can imagine? But it's a little bit better today where I am anyway, but I think there's still rain about. Hi, Laurie. Hi, Maria from Oz. Yeah, did you watch that film, Yvonne? Wasn't it a good film? I mean, I don't think Gene Hackman was ever in a bad film, to be honest. Well, something else that I wanted, there's always so much to say, and sometimes I forget to say things. This incident, this event, if you like, this tragedy that has happened to Gene Hackman and his wife and one of his dogs is in Santa Fe in America. Let's just have a look where it is, because the other thing, the police force that are dealing with it in Santa Fe, they of course were the same police force that dealt with the Alec Baldwin, when the lady was killed on the Alec Baldwin set of Rust. Let's have a look. Let's have a look where it is, first of all, just in case you don't know, if you're anything like me who's rubbish with geography. So, yeah, this is Santa Fe. Just so you can see where it is. It's in New Mexico, in the United States. Got Denver, Colorado there, Baja California, Los Angeles, etc. But Santa Fe is here. And that's where Gene and his wife Betsy had gone to live, and they were living a very reclusive life. I mean, they have children, he has children, but of course they're grown-up children. I don't know if he has grandchildren. But, as you get older like that, I mean, 95 is an incredible age, really, isn't it? And especially incredible if you're still fit and healthy. Driving, he was going, we saw videos of him going off getting a burger, doing just doing things that normal people do at 95 is really quite something, isn't it, really, when you think about it. Now, his wife Betsy, of course, she's a lot younger. She was only 63. That's 32 years younger than him. So, and they'd been together quite a long time. She was supporting him. I'm sure in the end, maybe she was a bit his carer. Don't know. Though we saw him out and about on his own, so he didn't look like he needed much caring for. He's obviously kept himself fit and healthy. As I say, he had a pacemaker, but, that's not unusual in this day and age. So he'd done really well to get to that age. And of course, it's not far from Las Vegas, this. what that has happened. So it's because of that. Yeah. Do you remember this case? Let's have a look at the case of. Don't know. I've not looked into this on any. In any depth, but this is the Rust movie. This is the movie with Alec Baldwin, who again is a very good actor, but it's a it was a tragedy, wasn't it? Because Alec Baldwin got out the gun in the movie, on the set of the movie, as they were filming the movie, and shot it and killed one of the women that were working on the film. I personally think this is a very mysterious incident, and Alec has been cleared, I believe, of any wrongdoing. Let me just see. I need to look into this case in some detail at some point. Let's just have a look at this.
Helena was going to shoot a film called...
So this is Helena, and she was part of the production team, or part of the directing team. And this terrible tragedy happened where Alec Baldwin fired the gun, and it turned out to be actually live. And Helena was killed. It's very mysterious, personally, I think, but I think Alec has been cleared of this. So the only reason I mention this is the same police force that is dealing with the Gene Hackman case that dealt with this case. So let's just have a look at the trailer. This might pull me up for copyright, but anyway, never mind. I'll sort that out later. I'll cut it out if I have to.
Rust, she went out
and never came back.
911, what's your emergency? We had 2 people shot on a movie set accidentally.
The actor on set, Alec Baldwin.
Were you in the room when the lady went?
I was shot through the gun, yeah.
A bullet went through her and then from her into me.
No accident just happens out of the blue. Every accident is preceded by a series of failures.
We don't have enough time and we don't have enough money. You're always working against the chaos.
It very quickly felt like somebody was going to get hurt.
Now, you know, this deserves a video in itself, an investigation in itself. It's a very mysterious thing that live guns or guns with live rounds in them should be used on a film set. And you know, as I say, I don't know all the details off the top of my head, so this deserves a video in itself. The only reason I'm presenting it is because I want to let you know that it was the same police department that dealt with this incident, that are dealing with Gene Hackman's and his wife's mysterious death.
If something didn't change.
There's so much footage that she made that's so beautiful. She put her soul into it.
We were setting up for a shot.
Helena is standing to the right of the camera.
It sounded like an explosion.
She looked up at me and said, "I can't feel my legs."
I do have some very unfortunate news.
What?
She didn't make it.
Everybody stops what they're doing, and I need the film secured. This is a crime scene.
It's just complete chaos.
Stand right over here.
Everyone's like, what? How could there be a bullet?
A live bullet got put in the...
So this is a trailer. This must be a story that's coming out about this. Alec Baldwin, he's another of those actors, you know, maybe some people don't know who Alec Baldwin is, but he's a brilliant actor. He's a brilliant actor. He's been in so many films, just excellent films. You know, when he was younger, he would play like, I say the romantic lead, but he was quite often a baddie, to be honest. There's something about Alec Baldwin, you know, there's something sort of dangerously bad about him. I've seen so many good films with him in as well. And of course, he's older. When he came to make this film, this is a Western. It's a real, I think, I've always thought this is a bit of a mystery because I just cannot believe that live rounds, you know, on a film set, why would live rounds ever be used? But as I say, this is a whole other video to talk about.
Gun. Oh my God.
What's your job?
I'm the armor.
She had little experience.
Why would there be live ammo on the set? I have no idea.
6 live bullets were floating around on that movie set.
What people really wanted from this was entertainment. Just an ugly frenzy, and they erased her from it.
Someone is responsible. I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me.
You know, so there you go. There's the bullet. And this poor woman, with a lot of promise, she died. And yeah, we'll look into that on another video, definitely, because, you know, there's a lot of mysteries in this world, isn't there? At the end of the day, you'll never stop. There's always mysterious things going on. But was there more to this, or was it just a tragic accident? I just think, you know, I don't know, because I'm not a filmmaker, so I don't know what normally happens on film sets. But do they normally have live rounds? Do they normally use guns with live rounds in them? Surely not. You know, because to me it would seem like, you know, on a movie set you would put in the sound effects later. You don't need to make it sound like it's a real gun. You know, those are things you can do later. You know, it's totally unnecessary to use live rounds. But anyway, I'm going to stop looking at that now, because that is, as I say, another story. But the reason that I just wanted to tell you about that is we're talking the same police department that are dealing with Jean and Betsy's deaths, and the dog, of course, are dealing, were the ones that dealt with this. So I think, you know, they've got quite a good reputation from what I can gather, the Santa Fe Police Department. You know, we'll see. Anyway, so they're investigating into Jean and Betsy's death and the dog, which I don't know the name of the dog. So unfortunately, I can't give the dog's name. But anyway, so few things that I just want to talk about the actual events of what happened, what we know so far, before I start looking at, you know, just the because really the purpose, as I say, of this video, because there's still a lot of things we don't know about what happened. But basically, summing it up from, you know, I've done quite a few videos on it. Hopefully some of you have seen those videos and you'll know the details. But Jean was 95 years old, his wife Betsy 63. It seems like the caretaker, somebody, I think it was the gardener or something, who initially raised suspicion and said, oh, you know, I can't get in, or I can't get any answer, etc. So the caretaker for the property, he's the one that looked through the window and saw the bodies, or saw at least one body, saw the body of Betsy on the floor in the bathroom. And he clearly stated in the 911 call that he could see her body and that she looked dead. And then he said he mentioned another body, but, you know, he said he couldn't go into the property. So what caused a bit of consternation, I think, is he said he couldn't get access to the property, but the police said when they went, the door was ajar. So that already, but it's a huge property, huge, massive property. So it could well be that you know, one door might have been open, but the door that where the caretaker was, maybe that wasn't open. And then something that somebody mentioned on, you know, I've watched so many videos about this. On one of the videos that I watched about this, somebody made a comment and it just resonated with me, is maybe the door wasn't open when the caretaker went. But, you know, German Shepherds, I don't know if all 3 of their dogs were German Shepherds, but the one that was found deceased was a German Shepherd. Now, that one, it seems like, may have been caged or contained somewhere. But the other 2 dogs were just roaming around. One of the dogs was next to Betsy's body. The other dog was roaming around the property. Now, we have a German Shepherd, as you know, if you watch my channel regularly, and she can open any door. If it's got a handle, of course. I'm not saying she can turn a handle. I'm sure she'd have a go at it. But if it's got a handle on it, she can open it. You know, she's escaped so many times. Not so much now, but when she was younger, if she didn't like being left on her own, she'd get bored, she'd open the door and go out. You know, we've learned that we cannot leave her. I've had to take handles off the bedroom doors because she can open them. And because we have to keep her separate from our other 2 dogs because she doesn't like them. You know, this may have been something that was going on in their home. We don't know. But what if one of the dogs opened the door? German Shepherds are clever. You know, maybe one of the dogs opened the door so they could get out. You know, it's a possibility. At the moment, we just don't know. The only things we know for sure, or the only things the police, law enforcement has told us for sure so far, is they did not die of carbon dioxide poisoning, which was one, you know, theory in the beginning that could have been, you know, it's unusual for 2 people to die in one event, isn't it? Like that, and a dog in different rooms from each other. So, but that didn't happen. It was not carbon monoxide poisoning. The other thing we know for certain is there were no outward signs. Now, of course, we talk about the preliminary forensic investigation that was done at the scene. There were no outward signs of blunt force trauma or, you know, that they'd been attacked, stabbing. There were no weapons around, etc. So, but of course, when they come to do the proper post-mortem, maybe that there are injuries that we don't know about. The other thing we know is they were in separate rooms. Gene looked as if he had just collapsed to the floor, possibly a heart attack. His pacemaker showed that his last day of life, if you like, was around about 11 days before they were found deceased. Betsy was on the floor in the bathroom. And she was surrounded by, like, she was lying on her side. She was surrounded by pills, but we don't know what pills those were. It looked, you know, there was an open bottle of pills on the floor. I mean, is it possible that Gene had an episode where he had a heart attack and then Betsy was running to get his tablets and she tripped up or slipped in the bathroom and hit her head, or, you know, so these are the things we don't know. But both of them had been there quite a substantial amount of time. There's talk about mummification, etc., but we haven't had exact details of when they're thought to, well, apart from Gene, because I suppose it's easier to say when his time of death was because of the pacemaker. But as far as Betts is concerned, you know, it's about someone who's 30 odd years younger than him. Her cause of death will be more complex, I think, to establish. Did she slip, bang her head, you know, or is there more to this than we don't know? But there's an investigation going on and we're waiting to hear what the results are. What was it? Oh, another thing that came up recently is her mum. Betsy's mum has come out and said Betsy used to ring her on a regular basis, but she hadn't heard from her for a month. A month. You know, so then you start to think, well, God, surely she hasn't been dead for a month. Now, Gene's last event on his pacemaker was only 11 days before they were found. So you see what sort of mystery it is. I mean, it is a complete mystery. What happened? Seems easier to understand why Gene may have dropped to the floor. That's what the police are saying. It seems like it dropped to the floor. It's in the what they call a mud room, which is a room where you change out of muddy clothes into, you know, if you took the dogs out and it's been all muddy and dirty, you come in, change your clothes and, you know, change into other clothes to go into the main house. That seems quite sort of clear cut that maybe that's exactly what happened. Did Gene Hackman have a heart attack, just drop in his tracks? But to me, the confusing thing is, what about Betsy and what about the dog? Now, the other thing that's been mentioned is there was a space heater, as the police refer to it, in the bathroom. Did she slip, bang her head on the heater? Did the heater fall on her head? You know, so lots of different, you know, lots of different, what's the word I'm looking for? Lots of different scenarios. Or had Betsy been dead, you know, already for a while? But, you know, I hope not, because, you know, I don't want to think that anything untoward happened in this situation. I just don't want to think about it at all, because it's strange that her mum said she hadn't heard from her for so long. Anyway, let's not speculate anymore, because we just don't know. That's all we know so far. 2 healthy dogs, 2 dogs that were alive and running around the property. 1 dog deceased. Gene deceased seems like, to me, I think Gene probably had a heart attack. But what happened to Betsy, I think, is the more unknown, if you like. Had she been dead longer? Or, you know, who died first? Now, if it's not carbon monoxide poisoning, then they can't have both died at the same time. That's impossible. So this is what we've got to wait to find out. Anyway, let's talk now about, now I've got so many windows open at the moment, honest to God, more than normal. And the reason why is because I'm currently making a video. I'm going to put down the ones I can. I'm currently making a video about a case that, you know, has left an impression on me from the first time I heard about it. So that'll be coming out at some point, but that'll be a video that I'm putting together, not a live, you know, won't be making a live video. I'm going to put the video together about this case, about this person. You know, this will shock you. It will shock you, this case, because of the total betrayal that's included in it. So, you know, true crime is never happy, is it, at the end of the day? Never talking about anything happy events. But some cases leave more of a mark on you, and this case has always left a massive impression on me. And I think about this person a lot. And sometimes I think, like I've said before, sometimes I think it's almost like some people, some victims, it's almost like they're talking to me or they're in my head until I do the video about them, until I tell their story. And then they seem, you know, sorry, I mean, I'm sort of, it depends what you believe or you don't believe. I believe in the afterworld, in the spirit world. And sometimes I just feel like these people, they want their story to be told. And this person's story has been told. I'm not the only person who's telling it, don't get me wrong. But I'll be glad to get this story out for them and their family. So that's why I've got a lot of windows open, because the things that I've been researching about them, I don't want to put those windows down, because I want they're up there for when I do that video. So I may be a bit confused looking for, as I say, I've got about 20 windows open. It's not a good idea, really. But there's some that I can put down. Let me put down the ones that I can put down. Hi, Angel. Hi to anyone I haven't said hello to. I got sort of, no, that's it. So we're going to have a little look at some of the tributes that have been paid to Gene Hackman. And I think that's important because he was a good actor. You know, I hope and pray that nothing suspicious comes out of these investigations. I don't want to hear that there's been any foul play by anyone, to be honest. You know, I hope that Gene and his wife are together in the next world and everything's okay. I hope there wasn't any, you know, any bad things that went on there. I just hope desperately that there are not. So I think we'll start off, you know, it was the Oscars last night, and Morgan Freeman, another classic actor, one of the best actors of our time. He, again, hasn't done a bad film, has he? He did a eulogy at the Oscars last night. So I'm going to show the eulogy that Morgan Freeman did for Gene Hackman. And he acted with Gene Hackman, and he made a very nice tribute. Let's have a look.
Well, this week, our community lost a giant. And I lost a dear friend, Gene Hackman. I had the pleasure of working alongside Gene on 2 films, Unforgiven and Under Suspicion. And like everyone who's ever...
I've been looking for that film, Unforgiven and Under Suspicion. That's a brilliant film. I have seen it years ago. The other one, Under Suspicion, I don't think I've ever seen that. But anyway, I'm trying to find them, you know, on streaming networks, etc. And, you know, looking at Morgan Freeman here, bless him, because these classic actors, they're all bobbing on a bit now. We're all getting older, aren't we? But, you know, just these people... you know, they've left such a mark on the world and created so much pleasure for people. That's, you know, at the end of the day, actors, actresses, singers, all those, you know, the gift they leave to the world is pleasure.
Shared a scene with him. I learned he was a generous performer and a man whose gifts elevated everyone's work. He received 2 Oscars, but more importantly, he won the hearts of film lovers all over the world. Gene always said, I don't think about legacy. I just hope people remember me as someone who tried to do good work. So I think I speak for us all when I say, Gene, you'll be remembered for that and for so much more. Rest in peace, my friend.
Yeah, rest in peace. I hope he is resting in peace, both him and Betsy. Okay. Now we're gonna look at another article where it said that Gene was slowing down. I mean, it did sort of make me giggle, this a little bit. I know that might seem irreverent. I don't mean to be irreverent, but they said he was slowing down. I mean, he's 95. You know, of course he was slowing down. You know, God, I slowed down at 40. I don't know about anybody else. Where's it gone now? Let me find it. Gene Hackman was slowing down. Gene Hackman's friends say he was slowing down and reclusive ahead of the mysterious death. And this guy who's talking was a longtime friend of Jean in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Well, do you know what? If you can't slow down by the time you're 95, oh my God. You know, really, you know, you can't, I'm not sad for Gene Hackman for his death. And I'm sad that he's died, but you know what I mean. He lived a long life and he had a good life. He did what he wanted to do from when he was young. He wanted to be an actor. He didn't like all the pomp and ceremony of being an actor. But at the end of the day, if you want to be a famous actor, that's what comes with it. So, you know, that's all there is to it. So he maybe didn't like all the celebrity side of it, but he wanted to be an actor. And he did what he wanted to do. And he lived a long life. So, you know, I don't feel sad for him in that sense. I feel sadder for Betsy and the dog, which, God, that sounds so callous. I don't mean to be callous, but I think you'll know what I mean. Because Betsy was only 63, and I don't know how old the dog was, but, you know, at the end of the day, it feels like maybe the dog, it was quite horrible what happened to the dog, because the dog probably died because it just didn't have any water or food because of the other two being dead. I don't know. So, yeah, you know, you have to celebrate Gene Hackman's life. He won 2 Oscars. He did what he wanted to do in his life. He seemed to have 2 happy relationships, because although he was married twice, his first wife he was married to for 30 years. So, you know, it wasn't, you know, a short marriage. So he must have been happy at some point with them. And he had a lovely home and he had all those things and friends. So I don't feel sorry in that sense. But it's just sorry that it had to come to this mysterious tragedy. Imagine getting to 95 and then all this happening.
He was 95, so he was slowing down. And after COVID, he was more reclusive, you know, protecting his immune system and everything else. I really am puzzled by the whole thing. You know, there's a lot of different reports coming out. It's kind of a tragic mystery in a way, and you know, I can't really speculate on what it could have been. Certainly nothing dark there, you know. I think it gets compounded by the fact that it was the 2 of them and the dog. But, you know, I don't know beyond that.
Well, that's it. We don't know. And he's saying, it definitely won't be anything dark. And I bloody hope so, because I would hate to think there was anything dark in this. But so that is Gene Hackman's friend, Stuart Ashman. And he says he wishes he would have stayed closer with him before his mysterious death. Will always have fond memories and a treasured painting from the late actor. So he said, obviously he was 95, so he was slowing down. And after COVID, so you can imagine a 95-year-old, when COVID happened, he was 90. Probably. So, you know, apparently Betsy, she was younger, but when she went out, she would wear a mask because she didn't want to take COVID home to Gene, did she? He was probably scared of catching COVID, probably didn't go out much. And then even when Betsy went out, you wouldn't want to take COVID, you know, back to your loved one who's elderly or whatever, because, you know, whatever people think about COVID, and of course people, you know, have got very divisive thoughts about COVID and lockdowns and masks, but COVID happened. Lots of people died of COVID. It was you know, I personally know people who died of COVID, and I also know people who were seriously ill because of COVID. So whether the masks made any difference, whether the lockdowns made any difference, whether the vaccines made any difference, you know, I don't know. But the thing is, COVID, you know, to say that COVID didn't exist, I think is wrong. Personally, I think it's wrong. It did exist. It was a terrible thing. It killed a lot of people. And, but, you know, whatever, you think of, the ways that COVID was dealt with, COVID itself was a scary thing, and especially for older people, for vulnerable people, or for, people who had predisposed conditions. Having said that, a friend of mine, her husband nearly died of COVID, and he would have been the last person you would have expect to have complications from COVID, because he was a non-smoker, he was a fit guy, he was in his 50s. He was like, and he literally, my friend got COVID and she just had a sore throat and a cough for a couple of days and a headache, and that was it. And then her husband caught it, and he was literally 3 weeks. He could not speak, couldn't get out of bed. He was hospitalized. Well, he was hospitalized once. The second time, the ambulance wouldn't take him to the hospital because they said the hospital was so bad, he was safer at home. It was terrible, and so, yeah, COVID was a weird thing, wasn't it? But anyway, the arguments about COVID really are all about the sort of whether we should have worn masks or whether we should have had lockdown, whether we should have done, but the thing is, COVID existed. And, I'll always challenge people who didn't, who say that COVID wasn't that serious, because not only that friend, but also another friend of mine, her sister, who's Down syndrome, had to die alone in hospital. Nobody could go and visit her, because she died of COVID. She was in her 50s, maybe older actually, maybe even in her 60s. Nobody was allowed to go and visit her. They couldn't have a proper funeral for her. And but she died of COVID. But anyway, so I'm sure someone like Gene Hackman, a 90-year-old man, he would have been terrified of COVID. So after COVID, he was more reclusive, protecting his immune system and everything else. He continued, I'm really puzzled by the whole thing. There's a lot of different reports coming out. It's kind of a tragic mystery in a way, and I can't really speculate on what it could have been. Certainly nothing dark there. I think it gets compounded by the fact that it was two of them, the dog, but I don't know beyond that. So Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were found dead in their home last Wednesday. Authorities have said, God, has it not even been a week yet? God, it feels like it was years ago this happened. Was that last Wednesday? Surely not. Anyway, authorities said, God, time. It's weird, isn't it? Authorities have said the couple had been dead for several days when they were discovered, but have not released a cause of death. So we have, whatever anyone says, so far, we have not had a cause of death. We just know Gene Hackman's last event on his pacemaker, and we know nothing about why Betsy died so far. So Daniel and Barbara Lenihan and their son Aaron also recently spoke with People magazine about Gene Hackman and Betsy. See, they're using the surnames again, saying that Gene had been essentially kind of homebound in recent times, and he had quit riding his bike through the neighbourhood. So sorry, I'm not laughing because it's funny. But imagine, if you've only just stopped riding your bike through the neighbourhood when you get to 95. I mean, I've got a friend of mine, her dad only gave up skydiving when he got to 90 because he couldn't get insurance anymore. So, in this day and age, older people, they're still doing these adventures. Not me. So it makes you feel like inadequate, really, doesn't it, when you hear of people skydiving at 90 or riding their bike around the neighbourhood and doing all these things. I mean, it's amazing. Aaron told the outlet Betsy tried to keep him active and engaged, and he added that Hackman did puzzles and yoga via Zoom daily. She was still trying to, maybe that's what happens when you have someone, a partner who's 30 odd years younger than you. Maybe that's what I need to look for, a toy boy. my problem is I can't afford a toy boy, you know, so and a toy boy is still quite old for me now, the age I've got. It's like, maybe a toy boy keeps you young. Joan Collins would say that word. Collins has had loads of toy boys, and she's always been kept young, so maybe that's what I should be doing. But she can perhaps afford a toy boy, I can't. Maybe I should set up a GoFundMe for Vicky's toy boy, Vicky Marie's toy boy. It's a joke. It's a joke. Well, sort of. Aaron told the outlet, oh yeah, sorry, I've read that. She was still trying to keep him as active, as engaged and healthy as possible. And she said that in the last couple of months, Hackman, or Gene Hackman, first names please, was really slipping. And he was essentially sort of homebound in recent times. The family also recalled that Betsy was very protective of him in terms of COVID. She'd always wear a mask when we'd see her out. They seemed like real life partners, really close to each other, and they were both incredibly kind. And they were reserved, but they were real and a lot of fun. Oh, so this is obviously a while ago, and she does look very young there. I must say, when I first saw this photo earlier, I thought, oh, you know, she looks a lot younger than him. I don't know how old they were when they got together. Maybe she was, maybe she's 30 there. I mean, she's a grown woman. I'm not saying she's a child. She's not. But you can see the age difference there, I think, more than later on. So the last time they spoke was before the COVID pandemic, and the gap in conversation is one he regrets. It was before COVID, and it reminded me of when I was a kid. My father had a friend who had not been in contact with, and we went to visit him. And then he had been dead for a few days, and my father lamented not having called him. And I feel the same way. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't matter what age you are, you do fall out of contact with friends sometimes. For various reasons, don't you? You know, and, you know, later you think, oh, why didn't I message them? Or why didn't I do this? Or why didn't I do that? But, you know, life happens, doesn't it? People normally are just getting on with their own lives, aren't they? And sometimes you do fall out of contact with people that before you were very close with. Sorry, I'm just laughing at David. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I will. I'm going to set up applications, David. So, where am I? Yeah, you don't think about it, but your friend is there and you figure they're all right. I mean, I think especially when your friends have a partner and that, you know, it's not as if you're thinking, oh, well, they're living on their own and they've got nobody looking after them. He was there with Betsy, and I suppose you just wouldn't, you know, life takes over, doesn't it? You don't think that anything's going to happen to them. And you should never feel guilty if something does, because there's no point thinking, oh, I should have gotten in touch with them, or I should have done this, or I should have done that. There's nothing you get. Life, you know, happens, and they could have got in touch with you as well. You know, at the end of the day, Jean could have got in touch with him, but it's true that sometimes you don't realise that people aren't getting in touch because maybe something's not 100% with them, you know. So of course it's always advisable to at least every now and again send a message and say, oh, are you okay, blah 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 blah. But having said that, you should not feel guilty if you don't. So you don't think about it, but your friend is there and you figure they're all right. I mean, the last time I think I talked to him, he had a place that he rented in the Florida Keys for the winter. Of course, it's warmer in Florida, isn't it? A couple of winter months anyway, and he was going there. So that's the last time I talked to him, when he was going there. So Hackman and Ashman met in the late 90s. So quite a long time ago, when they served on a committee together at the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, and they bonded further through a shared Pilates teacher. He was the class after me, and it was a one-on-one class, and we would sit and talk for long enough that the teacher said, Jean, are you going to take a class today, or are you just going to talk to Stuart? And that's really kind of how it was. It was a strong connection. I mean, I think the impression that I get from most things that I've read about Gene Hackman and that is that he did have a lot of social relationships, a lot of friends. Although, you know, now that he's passed, I lament the fact that we didn't spend more time together. You know, there's always something to regret. When someone passes away, unfortunately, whoever it is or whatever the circumstances, there'll always be something. You think, oh, I should have rang them, I should have texted them, I wish I would have seen more of them. That is, you know, I think even if you'd seen him the day before, you know, you'd be thinking, well, why didn't I text them in the morning or whatever? You know, that is just the way it is, isn't it? Anyway, Ashman is the co-owner of Artes de Cuba Gallery and the former Secretary of Cultural Affairs for New Mexico. And also, he has a small farm with chickens. He would regularly deliver a dozen eggs to Gene Hackman. And this is interesting because he says that one day he bought me a painting and I said, you can't give me this painting. He says, yes, you've been giving me eggs for months. So I traded a painting for eggs, which is pretty nice. And now I have this wonderful treasure. I mean, that is bloody brilliant to have, isn't it? You know, he'd been giving him eggs off his farm for ages, and Gene Hackman's bought him this painting. And Ashman shared that Gene was active in the community, explaining that he was invested in a lot of other businesses in Santa Fe. I knew people that he really backed businesses. If he liked somebody, he'd get involved in their business, and I don't think it was a money-making thing for him. We didn't need to make any more money, did he? He was worth millions. It was really to help people out. He was often seen out exercising, and he was in great shape, even at his advanced age. He was very fit. He was 6'2" plus, an ex-Marine. He did Pilates 3 times a week. And on the days he didn't do Pilates, he would load his bicycle up to his SUV and drive to Albuquerque, which is 70 miles, and ride this trail down there, which is along the river and it's paved and level. So he didn't want to do mountain biking. Well, I wouldn't want to do, no hills. I love walking. I wouldn't mind cycling, to be honest. I quite like cycling, but on level, not hills. No, thank you. But he did that, so he was in great shape. His fondest memories of Hackman or Gene remain their conversations at the Pilates classes, joking that sometimes their talks would be a guy thing, and other times they'd discuss politics, including Ashman's childhood in Cuba, where Hackman had spent some time, and they had also bonded over their shared military service. So don't forget that Gene Hackman lied about his age back in the day to get into the Royal Marines because he wanted to serve his country, even though he wanted to be an actor. So, he got to do what he wanted to do. So I think we have to think of that as a positive thing. It's just so sad the way this, the end of his life came, isn't it? He should have really just died in his bed, gone to sleep and not woke up. That's, everyone has to die. I mean, I don't want to get depressing on this Monday morning, but, it's a fact of life. There's only 2 certainties in life, and one's that you're born and the other one is that you die. Apart from that, you never know what's going to happen. But this way, he wouldn't have liked it, of course, because he was a private man. He wouldn't have liked everyone talking about his life. But, that's unfortunately, I know he was a private man, but he was also a very famous man. And people want to know what happened to him. So Bill Murray has talked about him as well. I'm going to look at that in a minute. He was a Marine and I was a naval reservist. We had some good jokes about those days. It was a different era. He's older than I am, so I don't know if he was involved or in combat or anything like that, but I certainly wasn't. So Gene Hackman also shared a fun behind-the-scenes piece of trivia about one of his most famous films, The French Connection. Ashman went to high school in the neighborhood where the movies, this is the film I want to see again because I've not seen it for ages, where the movie's famous car chase was filmed, which features several real-life crashes and near misses. So, Popeye Doyle. That was the character he played in The French Connection. So he told me this story about years after the movie, the guy he ran into in New York said, "Hey man," this is a good story. "You don't know what you did for me. You saved my life. I owe you." And he said, Gene Hackman said, "What are you talking about?" And this guy said, "When you were filming The French Connection, they closed all the streets, but I didn't know about it. I had my car in my driveway, and when I pulled out, you slammed into me. And then a producer came and gave me $20,000 as compensation." And he added, in those days, you could buy a new Chevy for $4,500. So it was a big deal. So, yeah, it is an interesting story, that. Now, let's go and have a look. Oh, let's have a look at this video. There's so many.
Very fit, you know, and he was
We've seen this
6'2" plus.
No, we've seen that one. Let's have a look at what Bill Murray says about him. Now, if you don't know who Bill Murray is, of course, he was in Ghostbusters. He's been in more films than that. But is there a video of showing what he says? Let me see. I don't want to read it out. I was looking. Oh, look at that with Dustin Hoffman. Look at this picture with Dustin Hoffman. Another classic actor, of course. Oh, even Prince William came out, and so sad to hear the news of the death of Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy. So even William had something to say. Surprised the King hasn't come out and said anything. He's probably more like the King's era than William's. Sorry, what I'm looking for is what Bill Murray had to say. Oh, look, there he is with Dennis Hopper, another classic one. I mean, he's acted with all the famous actors. Let's watch this one.
Life is up there, and life always matters very much.
He was admired by his peers and beloved by moviegoers. Eugene Alden Hackman was born January 30th, 1930 in San Bernardino, California. He grew up in Danville, Illinois with his maternal grandmother. Hackman dropped out of high school at 16 and lied about his age to join the Marines. He served in China, Japan, and Hawaii for 4.5 years. While in the military, he worked as an announcer on Armed Forces Radio. In 1951, Hackman made his way to New York, hoping to become an actor. He got his start on stage in The Curious Miss Carroway at the Pasadena Playhouse School. In 1958, he made his first appearance on the New York stage in Chaparral. 3 years later, Hackman made his feature film debut with a small non-speaking role in Mad Dog Call. His Broadway debut came in 1964 with Any Wednesday, followed by his first major film role in Lilith.
All right, Popeye's here.
Hackman's breakout role in 1971's The French Connection earned him his first Academy Award for Best Actor. He went on to play Lex Luthor, Superman's arch nemesis, in several films. Hackman also appeared in Reds, Hoosiers, and No Way Out. In 1993, Hackman won his second Oscar for Best Supporting Actor as a gunslinger turned lawman in Unforgiven.
What interests me about acting is that somewhat common characters put in uncommon situations. And what do you do? How do you react to certain things, given that you're a common man?
Wendell Roar, an overdue pleasure.
In 2003, Hackman starred in the legal thriller Runaway Jury, where he got a chance to act with his longtime friend, Dustin Hoffman. The following year, he appeared as the former president in the comedy Welcome to Mooseport. After stepping away from acting in 2008, Hackman wrote several books and continued painting, which he had said was one of his hobbies. Hackman had 3 children with his first wife, Faye Maltese, before getting divorced in 1986. He remarried in 1991.
So they seem to like their German Shepherds, don't they? Did you see that on that picture? So, you know, I mean, German Shepherds are brilliant dogs. It makes you wonder, did they open that door? Our German Shepherd would definitely be able to open a door. I don't know. I think if, you know, if anything happened to us, well, I know for a fact, if she thought we weren't here, I don't know how dogs, sometimes I think dogs know when the spirit leaves the body and they know you're not with them anymore. And then they would guard you, you know. Anyway, I know this from experience from someone that lost. And a little poodle that we had at the time was guarding their body. The police couldn't even get into their body because of the dog. So I expect these dogs were doing the same thing. But how long had they been there wandering around that property? That's what's worrying. I think that might be, you know, it's horrible to think about. And one dog, of course, died. But you can see they like the German Shepherds. They're brilliant dogs to have as guard dogs. If you've got a nice big property like they had, a German Shepherd is the perfect dog, I think, to have. You know, as a combination guard dog, as well as being very loyal pets. They're a nightmare to take out for a walk if you have to put them on a lead because they're so strong. They're much better just walking at the side of you. But of course, these days you can't let your dog off a lead. You've got to put them on a lead. And, you know, you have to worry about them with other dogs. But our German Shepherd, she would not leave your side. You know, she's just so protective.
With over half a century in the public eye, Gene Hackman will be remembered for his intensity, charisma, and magnetism.
Yeah, exactly. So not like a classically good-looking guy, if you like, but rugged charm. Is so intense, isn't he? You know, so intense, such a good actor, etc. Now, what else have I got to show? So, as I say, the purpose of this video really is just to show you some of the things, some of his works, a tribute to him, while we're waiting to find out what actually happened.
He was one of Hollywood's finest. Actor Gene Hackman died this past week at age 95. Hackman's film legacy includes Oscar-winning performances in The French Connection and Unforgiven. Our remembrance is from Mo Rocca.
Gene Hackman won Oscars playing a police detective who breaks the rules in The French Connection.
You been in Poughkeepsie, haven't you? I want to hear it! Come on!
On Independence Day.
And a villainous sheriff who makes the rules in Unforgiven.
When he fires that, take out your pistols and shoot him down like the mangy scoundrel he is.
No, don't speak. And in Young Frankenstein, Hackman won laughs as an insightful blind hermit.
Oh, you must have been the tallest one in your class.
I think he definitely showed that.
You know, I wouldn't have even thought of him as being in Young Frankenstein. And, you know, his films ranged right up to 2004. So he wasn't just in, you know, I know that even that's 20 years ago now. Think of that as recent. But even that's 20 years ago now. But did you know that Gene Hackman was in Young Frankenstein? I didn't know that. You know, so he was in all different kinds of films. He played comedy, he played drama. He normally played a little bit of a baddie, didn't he? He was always someone with an edge. And yeah, the Poseidon Adventure, of course, has been a more recent Poseidon Adventure made since then. That's another good film, to be honest. Richard Dreyfuss is in that. He's another classic actor. You know, thing about actors, it's funny, isn't it? They run through your life. If you like films like I do, if you like cinema, etc., or TV series or whatever, these actors, they play characters and they're sort of in your life in a way, because they're, you know, when you want to relax, you're watching these actors in films, but of course you don't know them personally, you know their characters. And so when they go, some, not all, but, you know, some actors, you know, sometimes I watch, you know, a eulogy about an actor. Obviously, people are leaving this world all the time, and I think, but it doesn't have an impact. But something about Gene Hackman, I don't know. He just had where I was. Not only probably maybe to do with the mystery of his death, maybe to do with that as well, I don't know, but it just seemed like, what, Gene Hackman? And then when they said he was 95, I was like, what, 95? Because probably because he's not been in the public eye for so long, it was a bit of a shock, you know, that he came into the public eye again as in his death, if you like. And then you think 95, oh my God, and it, you know, it brings home to you how old you are. You know, and anyone who's out there thinking it doesn't apply to me, it will apply to you one day, let me tell you now, because I would never have thought it would have applied to me. But yeah, it's like, oh my God. But, you know, that all you can do in this life is try and have positive effect on other people. You know, really, we're all here to contribute something. We don't have to be a famous actor. We don't have to, you know, do massive important things, just even, you know, just little things that we can do to make people's life better are good, aren't they? And sometimes we feel like we're failing in that one way or another, but getting all philosophical now on, so let me just carry on with this.
Don't get pigeonholed. Don't get typecast. Don't be just the tough guy. Don't leave me. Be everything else as well.
David Rooney is chief film critic for The Hollywood Reporter. What set Gene Hackman apart?
He was definitely part of a crop of interesting young Hollywood actors that kind of reinvented the mold. They were getting away from the traditional movie star.
So this was the Bonnie and Clyde film. Well, I'd forgotten he was even in this as well. Apparently he plays the husband of Bonnie's sister. Now, I didn't remember he was in that film. So he's a very understated actor, isn't he? Whereas Warren Beatty, of course, I do remember, probably maybe there's people out there don't know who Warren Beatty is. I think he's still alive, Warren Beatty, but he'll be a similar age, of course, or maybe a little bit younger. You know, Warren Beatty's an interesting guy. He was like the Hollywood heartthrob, wasn't he? Had affairs with so many women, and apparently the song by Carly Simon, You're So Vain, which is a song that I quite often sing at karaoke. Not that I've been to karaoke for ages. That's supposedly about Warren Beatty, isn't it? You know, he's another interesting character. But I'd forgotten that Gene Hackman was in this film. You know?
Into something more approaching real people. He wasn't sort of a matinee idol look, but it was at the point when people were looking beyond that to try and find some other kind of realism in movies.
In Mississippi Burning, Brad Dourif's racist deputy received a close shave from Hackman's FBI agent.
This is tricky.
I made sure that...
Oh my God, that's another brilliant film that I'd forgotten he was in. Mississippi Burning is a brilliant film again, but I'd forgotten that Gene Hackman was in it.
That the razor was actually not sharp.
Do you think he raised your game in those scenes?
Absolutely. I mean, how could he not? I mean, the better you are, the better he is. The better he is, the better you are. And you're both aware of that.
Dourif wasn't just a co-star of Hackman's, he was an unabashed fan.
I never really got over the fact that that was Gene Hackman. Oh my God, this is Gene Hackman. It's so...
Look at his face on that, though, Gene Hackman. He's got such a screen presence.
sad that he's gone, but he was a treasure beyond belief.
I came so close to loving you tonight. I've never felt so open to you.
I mean, he had a reputation for being very tough on sets, very, very difficult, very impatient with actors who came unprepared. But I think that sometimes difficult is just another way of saying perfectionist.
Yeah.
Hackman has been lauded as the consummate everyman, but not every man could make a splash in the underwater disaster, The Poseidon Adventure.
He's in a big cheeseball movie, but he's bringing integrity to it.
Through that little hole? This little hole, as you call it, is going to get us out of here and up to Broadway.
Integrity, class, and heart. That was Gene Hackman.
If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's just a few films that he was in. Wow. Okay, so all I wanted to do really... Oh, yeah, I've got one here, a Spanish. Because, of course, it's been all over this. So, you know, when somebody is pretty special, when they're, all over the world. I've been looking at the articles on the Spanish news as well. They're making a big thing about it. He was famous all over the world. So there you go. Let's have a look at that. Is that a... So this was apparently one of the last photos that was ever taken of him. And, you can see she looks concerned for him. He looks, well, he's old and he's frail. He's 95 years old. So this was last year, apparently, this picture. So very, old age is scary, but it's not so bad when you consider the alternative. That's what Maurice Chevalier said, wasn't it? Old age is scary, but not so bad when you consider the alternative. And I think one thing that is definitely true, Gene Hackman, he had a good life and a long life. And I just hope there is nothing darker in this whole thing. I don't want to hear that anything awful has happened to him. Let's have a look at this video on the Spanish. It's probably similar to what's been released.
All right, Popeye's here. Get your hands on your heads. Get off the bar and get on the wall. What's my name?
Popeye Doyle. If he doesn't like you, he'll take you apart. And it's all perfectly.
Yeah. Is there more freedom using just your voice?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's kind of.
The older you get, the tougher some of the dialogue becomes. You don't retain.
It's all I ever wanted to do. So few people ever get what they really want. And
Actor of the Year, Gene Hackman receives his Oscar from Liza Minnelli.
So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, for his age, it's more worrying about her because she was only 63. Anyway, it's a very weird situation. The whole thing is weird, isn't it? And hopefully some sort of decent outcome will come that, the way I'm thinking at the moment, I'm thinking, did he have a heart attack? She ran into the bathroom to get his pills. She slipped or tripped over the flex on the heater and banged her head, or the heater fell on top of, is it some sort of tragic accident? But, only the police will tell us that. One thing, the only things we know for sure are that his pacemaker was working until 11 days before he was found. It's not clear when Betsy died or what she died of, or why the dog was dead. You know, none of that is clear. The only things that are clear, that he was alive up to 11 days before. He seems to have just dropped. Oh, and the other thing that is clear, and the police have said categorically, no carbon monoxide poisoning. So that is, ruled out. So that's what we've got to. That's where we're going from now on. We just got to wait and see the toxicology reports, the cause of death. I mean, although we know that Gene Hackman's last event on his pacemaker was 11 days before, the police still haven't, nobody still has said what the actual cause of death was. We can presume it was a heart attack, but that hasn't been confirmed. So yeah, that's where we are. But anyway, it's important to remember him. And as I say, I want to see Unforgiven again. I'm going to look for that now on Netflix. But I have looked. But I just think that surely Netflix, if they've got any sense, or any of these streaming companies, because I've got Amazon as well, they're going to, try and put his films up, because they're going to be watched, aren't they? And the Poseidon Adventure, etc. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Rest in peace, Jean and Betsy and the dog, which I don't know what the dog's name. So whatever happened, I think what we can all agree, and it's tragic, really. But Gene Hackman did have a good life. He did have a good life. I think, for Betsy, she was a lot younger, and, she has died too soon. I don't think you could say that Gene has died too soon, but I think what you could say is it's still a tragedy all the same. So I'm lighting a candle for all of them. And thank you for caring about Gene, about Betsy, and about the dog. And I hope the other two dogs are okay and being looked after. Oh, Moonbeam, that's nice. Yeah, that's it. Quite often people's bonds are unbreakable. I don't feel this with Jean and Betsy, although it feels like they were happy together. It feels like this is some sort of tragic accident. I think that Jean's death may have been, what's the word, a sudden event, like maybe a heart attack, and maybe Betsy's was an accident, but we just don't know, do we? Apart from that, we'll find out anyway, sooner or later. So thanks for watching. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And as always, may your God go with you. And let's hope we all get to 95. Well, only if it's fit and healthy. I don't know if I want to live till 95. It all depends, doesn't it? All depends what your quality of life is. I think Gene Hackman had a good quality of life. So, doing it, he had that lovely home and his wife and his dogs and exercising up to a year before. So really, he was lucky with that, and that's good. But the mystery of Betsy is another matter, I think. Anyway, thank you. Take care. And remember to look after you. And happy Monday, happy week. Adios.